I answered the phone at 3:47 a.m., and all I heard was dirt falling, muffled screams, and my wife choking on her last breath 6 feet underground. She was buried alive, and I had 2 hours to dig her out before the air ran out. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. My name is Tristan. I'm 42 years old, former Navy SEAL, and for the last 8 years, I thought I'd left the worst kinds of nightmares behind me. I was wrong. When that call came through, I didn't recognize the number. But the second I heard her voice, raspy, panicked, barely a whisper, I knew it was Eliza. My wife. Tristan, help me. I can't breathe. Her words were broken, distant, like she was speaking through a tunnel. Then I heard it, the sound that made my blood go cold. Dirt. Falling. Heavy. Steady. Like rain on a coffin lid. Eliza, where are you? I don't know. It's dark. They put me in a box. I can hear them walking above me. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a prank. This was real. Stay with me, baby. Stay awake. I'm coming for you. Tristan, I'm so scared. And then the line went dead. I stared at the phone. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. I tried calling back. Nothing. Straight to voicemail. I grabbed my jacket, my keys, my Glock from the safe. My mind was already running through every scenario. Who would do this? Why? And how the hell was I supposed to find her? Eliza and I had been married for 6 years. We met at a charity event in San Diego. She was a lawyer. Smart. Fierce. Beautiful in a way that made every room go quiet when she walked in. We didn't have kids yet, but we were planning. Talking about names. Painting the spare bedroom. Building a life. And now someone had buried her alive. I jumped in my truck and called the one person I knew could help. Nathaniel. My old SEAL teammate. Retired now, working private security and tech consulting. He picked up on the second ring. Tris, it's almost 4 in the morning, man. What's going? Eliza's been kidnapped. She's buried underground. I got a call from her phone. I need you to trace it. Now. There was a pause. Then his voice shifted. All business. Send me the number. I'll ping the tower. Give me 5 minutes. I hung up and drove. I didn't know where yet, but I wasn't going to sit still. My mind kept going back to the last few weeks. Things had been off. Eliza had been stressed. Distracted. She'd been working late on a case. Something involving her firm's senior partner, Blake, and his wife, Morgan. Blake was a real estate developer. Big money. Big connections. Morgan was a socialite. The kind of woman who smiled with her teeth, but never her eyes. Eliza didn't like her. Said she gave her bad vibes. 2 weeks ago, Eliza came home with a file. She didn't say much, but I could tell something was wrong. She locked herself in the office for hours. When I asked her about it, she just said, "It's complicated. I'll tell you when I know more." I should have pushed. I should have made her talk to me. But I didn't. I trusted her. I thought she could handle it. Now she was underground, suffocating, and I had no idea who did this or why. My phone buzzed. Nathaniel. Got a location. It's pinging from a cell tower near Riverbend Industrial Park. That's about 40 miles east of you. But Tris, the signal's weak. Like she's underground or in a basement. You're gonna need help. Call the cops. No cops. Not yet. If they're watching her, they'll kill her the second they see sirens. Then you better move fast. And Tris, be careful. This doesn't feel random. He was right. This wasn't random. This was planned. This was personal. I floored the gas pedal and headed east. The road was empty. Dark. The kind of quiet that makes you hear your own thoughts too loud. I thought about the last time I saw Eliza. Yesterday morning. She was drinking coffee in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone. She kissed me on the cheek before she left for work. Said she loved me. Said she'd be home by 6. She never came home. I should have called her. I should have checked in. But I was working on a contract proposal for a security firm. I got caught up. I didn't notice she was missing until almost midnight. By then, it was too late. I tried her phone. Voicemail. I called her office. No answer. I called her assistant, Ruby. She said Eliza left around 7. Said she seemed fine. But she wasn't fine. She was being hunted. I pulled up the map on my phone. Riverbend Industrial Park. It was an old construction zone. Half-finished buildings. Abandoned warehouses. The kind of place where people disappear. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. Tristan. It was a man's voice. Calm. Cold. Like he was reading from a script. You have 1 hour and 43 minutes. After that, she's gone. Don't call the police. Don't call anyone. If you want to see your wife again, you'll come alone. Who the hell are you? Someone who knows what she did. Someone who's making sure she pays for it. What are you talking about? Eliza didn't do anything. He laughed. A low, bitter sound. Ask her about the file, Tristan. Ask her what she found. Ask her why Blake's wife wants her dead. And then he hung up. My hands tightened on the wheel. Morgan. This was about Morgan. I didn't have time to figure it all out. I had less than 2 hours. I had to find Eliza. I had to get her out. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Someone had crossed a line. And when I found out who, they were going to wish they'd never touched her. Because I'm not just her husband. I'm a Navy SEAL. And I don't leave anyone behind. The industrial park looked like a graveyard for broken dreams. Rusted metal frames jutted out of the ground like skeletal fingers. Concrete slabs cracked and overgrown with weeds. Abandoned equipment scattered everywhere. No lights. No people. Just darkness and silence. I parked my truck a quarter-mile out and moved on foot. Every second felt like an eternity. I checked my watch. 1 hour and 28 minutes left. My mind kept circling back to one question. Why would Morgan want Eliza dead? 3 weeks ago, we had dinner at Blake and Morgan's house. It was supposed to be casual. A double date. But the whole night felt wrong. Morgan kept drinking wine, her smile tight and fake. Blake barely looked at anyone. And Eliza? She was quiet. Too quiet. When we got home that night, I asked her what was going on. Blake's hiding something, she said. And I think Morgan knows. Hiding what? She hesitated. Then she pulled out a folder from her bag. Inside were financial documents. Bank transfers. Property records. Names I didn't recognize. Blake's been moving money offshore. Millions. He's using shell companies to hide assets from his investors. If this gets out, he's finished. His firm. His reputation. Everything. And Morgan? Eliza bit her lip. She's the one signing off on the transfers. She's not just his wife. She's his accomplice. I stared at the papers. How did you get this? Blake's assistant, Paige. She came to me last week. She was scared. Said Blake threatened to fire her if she didn't help him cover it up. But she kept copies. She gave them to me. Eliza, this is dangerous. If Blake finds out, I know. But Paige deserves protection. And those investors deserve the truth. That was my wife. Always fighting for what's right. Even when it could get her killed. 2 days later, Blake showed up at our house. Unannounced. He looked like hell. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes bloodshot. I need to talk to Eliza, he said. I blocked the doorway. She's not here. Don't lie to me, Tristan. I know she has the files. I don't know what you're talking about. He stepped closer. His voice dropped. Tell her to give them back. Tell her to walk away. Or things are going to get ugly. Are you threatening my wife? I'm trying to protect her. Morgan's not the woman you think she is. If she finds out Eliza has those files, you don't want to know what she's capable of. He left before I could respond. I told Eliza everything. She didn't seem surprised. Blake's scared, she said. He knows he's losing control. But Morgan? She's the real danger. She's the one pulling the strings. Now, standing in this abandoned wasteland, I understood. Morgan didn't just want the files destroyed. She wanted Eliza gone. Permanently. I moved through the site carefully. My SEAL training kicked in. Eyes scanning. Ears listening. Every shadow could be a threat. Every sound could be a trap. Then I saw it. Fresh tire tracks. Leading toward an old warehouse at the far end of the lot. I followed them. The warehouse was massive. Broken windows. Rusted doors hanging off their hinges. I checked my phone. The signal was stronger here. Eliza was close. I stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and decay. My flashlight cut through the darkness. Rows of abandoned machinery, piles of construction debris, and in the center of the room, a steel door set into the ground. A cellar. I ran to it, pulled on the handle. Locked. Eliza! I shouted. Nothing. I kicked the door. Once. Twice. The lock held. I pulled out my Glock and aimed at the hinges. Fired twice. The door cracked open. I yanked it up and shone my light down. A ladder led into the darkness. I descended fast. The cellar was narrow. Cold. The walls were dirt. The floor uneven. And at the end, a wooden box. Coffin-sized. With air holes drilled into the top. Eliza! I heard a faint moan. I ran to the box and ripped off the top boards with my bare hands. Splinters tore into my skin. I didn't care. She was inside. Pale. Sweating. Her lips cracked and dry. Her eyes barely open. Tristan. I lifted her out. She was shaking. Gasping for air. I held her close. I got you. You're safe. I got you. She clung to me. Her fingers digging into my jacket. They said I had to die because I knew too much. Who did this? She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. Morgan hired a man. His name is Victor. He used to work for Blake. Security. He's the one who put me in here. Where is he now? I don't know. He left, said he'd come back to make sure I was gone. I checked my watch. 53 minutes had passed since the first call. I needed to get her out of here. Now, I carried her up the ladder. She was weak, barely able to walk. I wrapped my jacket around her and moved toward the exit. That's when I heard the footsteps. Heavy, slow, coming from behind the machinery. I set Eliza down gently, drew my Glock, aimed. A man stepped into the light. Tall, built like a linebacker, tattoos covering his arms. Cold eyes. Victor, you're not supposed to be here, he said. Neither are you. He smiled. Blake told me you were a SEAL. Guess he was right. Blake sent you. Blake's a coward. He doesn't have the guts to do what needs to be done. But Morgan? She's different. She pays well. And she doesn't ask questions. So you buried my wife alive for money? He shrugged. Nothing personal. Just business. I raised my gun. Walk away. Right now? Or I put a bullet in your skull. He laughed. You won't shoot me. You're one of the good guys. You follow the rules. Not anymore. I fired. The bullet hit the ground near his feet. A warning shot. He didn't flinch. Go ahead, he said. Shoot me. But Morgan will just send someone else. Someone worse. You can't protect her forever. I don't need forever. I just need long enough to bury you and everyone who helped you. He reached for something in his jacket. I didn't wait. I fired again. This time I didn't miss. He dropped. Hard. Blood pooling beneath him. I lowered my gun. My hand steady. My heartbeat calm. I'd killed men before. In combat. In war. But this was different. This was personal. I turned back to Eliza. She was staring at me. Eyes wide. Shocked. We need to go, I said. She nodded. I helped her to the truck. We drove in silence. She kept looking at me, like she didn't recognize me anymore. When we got home, I called Nathaniel again. It's done. Victor's dead. But this isn't over. Morgan's still out there. What are you going to do? I'm going to finish what Eliza started. I'm going to take them all down. Eliza grabbed my hand. Her voice was hoarse but firm. Not alone. We do this together. I looked at her. Bruised. Exhausted. But unbroken. Together, I said. Because this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. And we were going to make sure Morgan paid for every second of hell she put us through. We didn't call the police. Not yet. Because the moment we did, Morgan would know we were coming for her. Eliza sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, sipping water. Her hands were still shaking. I cleaned the cuts on my palms from breaking open the box. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, she broke the silence. Victor wasn't working alone, she said quietly. When he dragged me out of my car, there was someone else. A woman. She stayed in the shadows, but I heard her voice. It was Morgan. I stopped what I was doing. Morgan was there? Eliza nodded. She told Victor to make it look like an accident. Said no one could trace it back to her. Then she left. Like it was nothing. My jaw tightened. She watched him bury you alive. She didn't just watch. She gave the order. I sat down next to her. We're going to destroy her. But we need proof. Real proof. Something that ties her to Victor. To the kidnapping. To everything. The files aren't enough. The files prove financial fraud. They don't prove attempted murder. We need more. Eliza looked at me. Her eyes were tired but sharp. Paige. Blake's assistant. She might know something. Can we trust her? She's the one who gave me the files in the first place. She hates Blake. And she's terrified of Morgan. I grabbed my phone and called Nathaniel again. He answered immediately. Tell me you've got something, I said. I've been digging into Victor's background. Guy's got a record. Armed robbery. Assault. Did time in Texas. Got out 5 years ago and started working private security. Guess who hired him? Blake. Bingo. And guess who's been paying him under the table for the last 6 months? Morgan. You're good at this. There's more. Victor's phone records show he called Morgan 3 times yesterday. The last call was right before Eliza disappeared. Can we use that? In court? Maybe. But it's circumstantial. You need something direct. A recording. A witness. Something that puts Morgan at the scene. I glanced at Eliza. We're working on it. I hung up and turned to her. We need to talk to Paige. Tonight. She won't meet us. She's scared. Then we make her feel safe. We tell her we can protect her. And we promise her Morgan won't walk away from this. Eliza thought for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone and sent a text. 5 minutes later, she got a reply. She'll meet us. But only at her apartment. And only if we come alone. Done. Paige lived in a small apartment complex on the north side of the city. 2nd floor. Corner unit. The lights were off when we arrived. I knocked. No answer. Paige, it's Eliza. We're here to help. The door cracked open. A young woman peered out. Mid-20s. Dark hair pulled back. Eyes red from crying. Come in. Fast. We stepped inside. She locked the door behind us and checked the window. Is someone following you? I asked. I don't know. Maybe. Blake called me today. Told me to keep my mouth shut. Said if I talked to anyone, I'd regret it. Blake's scared, Eliza said. He knows everything's falling apart. Paige sat down on the couch. Her hands were trembling. Morgan came to the office yesterday. She was furious. She knew someone had taken the files. She blamed Blake. They had a huge fight. She said if he didn't fix it, she'd fix it herself. And by fix it, she meant kill Eliza, I said. Paige nodded. I heard her on the phone after Blake left. She was talking to someone. Said she needed it done tonight. Said it had to look like an accident. Did you record it? No. But I know who she was talking to. Victor. He's been doing her dirty work for months. Threats. Break-ins. He even roughed up one of Blake's business partners last year when they tried to back out of a deal. Eliza leaned forward. Paige, we need you to testify. To tell the police everything you just told us. I can't. Morgan will kill me. She'll kill you anyway if you don't. I said. You think she's going to let you walk away? You know too much. Just like Eliza did. Paige's face went pale. What am I supposed to do? You come with us. Right now? We take you somewhere safe. And tomorrow, we go to the police together. You, me, Eliza. We give them everything. The files. The phone records. Your testimony. And we watch Morgan burn. She hesitated. Then she nodded. Okay. Let me grab some things. She disappeared into the bedroom. Eliza looked at me. Do you really think we can keep her safe? She whispered. We don't have a choice. She's the key to all of this. Paige came back with a small bag. I'm ready. We headed for the door. I opened it and froze. Blake was standing in the hallway. He looked worse than before. Disheveled. Sweating. His eyes darted between us. I knew you'd come here, he said. I stepped in front of Eliza and Paige. Get out of the way, Blake. I can't let you take her. Morgan will know it was me. She'll destroy me. She's already destroying you. You're just too blind to see it. You don't understand. She's not just my wife. She's dangerous. She's connected. She has people. People who make problems disappear. Like Victor. Blake flinched. Victor's dead. Shot him myself. 2 hours ago. So whatever leverage you think Morgan has, it's gone. Blake's face crumbled. Then I'm finished. She'll think I betrayed her. She'll come after me next. Good. You deserve it. He shook his head. You don't get it. I never wanted any of this. The fraud. The threats. It was all her idea. I just went along with it. Because you're a coward. He didn't argue. He just stepped aside. Go. Take Paige. But don't come back for me. I'm already dead. We left him standing there. Broken. Pathetic. As we drove away, Paige stared out the window. What's going to happen to him? Nothing good, I said. Eliza squeezed my hand. We're really doing this, aren't we? Taking down Morgan. We are. And she's not going to see it coming. We took Paige to a small motel outside the city. Paid cash. No names. I checked the room twice before letting them inside. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me or Eliza. Paige nodded. She looked exhausted. What happens now? Now we go after Morgan, Eliza said. I handed Paige a burner phone. If anything happens, call this number. Nathaniel will get you out. We left her there and drove back into the city. The sun was starting to rise. The streets were quiet. My mind was racing through every possible move Morgan could make. She knows Victor's dead by now, I said. She'll be cleaning up loose ends. Blake's the biggest loose end, Eliza replied. If he talks, she's finished. Then we get to him first. We pulled up to Blake's house just after 6 in the morning. The lights were on. His car was still in the driveway. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I tried the handle. Unlocked. That's not good, Eliza whispered. We stepped inside. The house was a mess. Furniture overturned. Papers scattered everywhere. A lamp shattered on the floor. Blake, I called out. Nothing. We moved through the living room into the kitchen. That's where we found him. Blake was sitting at the table. A bottle of whiskey in front of him. His hands were shaking. His face pale and sweaty. Blake, Eliza said softly. What happened here? He looked up at us. His eyes were hollow. She was here. Morgan. About an hour ago. What did she want? She wanted to know if I talked to anyone. If I told the police. If I gave you anything. He laughed bitterly. I told her I didn't. I told her I kept my mouth shut. But she didn't believe me. Did she hurt you? No. Worse. She told me I was on my own. Said if the cops came for her, she'd make sure I took the fall for everything. The fraud. The kidnapping. Victor. All of it. I sat down across from him. Then give us something we can use against her. Right now? Before she disappears. Blake ran his hands through his hair. You don't get it. Morgan's not just some socialite. She's connected. Her father was a federal judge. Her brother works for the DEA. She knows people who can make evidence vanish. Who can make witnesses disappear. Then we make sure the evidence can't vanish, Eliza said. We go public. We take it to the media. We make it too big to cover up. Blake stared at her. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a USB drive. Everything's on here. Bank records. Emails. Text messages between Morgan and Victor. Photos of cash payments. She kept it all in a safe at her father's estate. I broke in last night and copied it. I took the drive. Why would she keep evidence like this? Insurance. In case anyone ever tried to turn on her. She wanted proof that everyone was just as dirty as she was. But she didn't know I had the safe code. Eliza leaned forward. Blake, you need to come with us. You need to testify. I can't. She'll kill me. She's going to kill you anyway, I said. The only way you survive this is if you help us take her down. He looked between us. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this fast. Before she realizes the drive is gone. We left Blake's house and headed straight to the police station. It was 7 in the morning. Detective Quinn was at her desk, drinking coffee and going through case files. Detective Quinn, I said. She looked up. Can I help you? My name is Tristan Cole. This is my wife, Eliza, and Blake Harrison. We need to report an attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. Quinn set down her coffee. You have my attention. We spent the next 2 hours laying everything out. The files, the USB drive, Blake's testimony, Paige's statement, Victor's phone records, every piece of evidence we had. Quinn listened carefully, took notes, asked questions. When we finished, she sat back in her chair. This is serious. If what you're telling me is true, we're talking about multiple felonies. But I need time to verify everything. And I need to bring in the DA. How long? I asked. 24 hours. Maybe less if we move fast. Morgan's going to run, Eliza said. The second she realizes Blake's talking, she'll disappear. Quinn nodded. Then we don't give her the chance. I'll put a team on her. Surveillance. Round the clock. If she tries to leave the city, we'll pick her up. And what about Blake and Paige? I asked. They're witnesses. They're in danger. We'll put them in protective custody. They'll be safe. Blake looked relieved. Thank you. Quinn stood. I'll get started on this right now, but I need you all to stay available. No leaving town. No doing anything stupid. I shook her hand. We're not going anywhere. We walked out of the station. The sun was fully up now. The city was waking up. Eliza grabbed my hand. Do you think it's really over? She asked. Not yet, but it will be. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won. You haven't. I'm always 3 steps ahead. I showed it to Eliza. Her face went pale. It's Morgan. Another text came through, this time with a photo. It was Paige, in the motel room, sitting on the bed. Someone had taken the picture from outside the window. My blood ran cold. She knows where Paige is. I called Nathaniel. No answer. I tried again. Still nothing. We have to go? Now. We jumped in the truck and raced back to the motel. My heart was pounding. We were 15 minutes away. Too far. When we pulled into the parking lot, I saw Nathaniel's car. The driver's side door was open. He was slumped over the steering wheel. Blood on his forehead. Unconscious but breathing. I ran to Paige's room. The door was wide open. The room was empty. Her bag was still on the bed. But she was gone. On the mirror, written in red lipstick, were 3 words. Game over, Tristan. Eliza stood behind me, trembling. She took her. Morgan took Paige. I clenched my fists. Morgan wasn't just cleaning up loose ends. She was sending a message. And the message was clear. This wasn't over. Not even close. Nathaniel woke up in the back of my truck with a groan and a hand pressed to his head. What the hell hit me, he muttered. Morgan's people, I said, driving fast through the city streets. They took Paige. Damn it. He sat up, wincing. How long was I out? Maybe 20 minutes. Maybe less. You're lucky they didn't kill you. They wanted me alive. To send a message. That we can't protect anyone. Eliza was on the phone with Detective Quinn, filling her in. When she hung up, her face was grim. Quinn's putting out an alert for Morgan. But she said without knowing where Paige is, there's not much they can do right now. Then we find her ourselves? I said. Nathaniel leaned forward. Morgan's smart. She won't take Paige somewhere obvious. But she'll want to keep her close. Somewhere she can control. Her father's estate, Eliza said suddenly. Blake said Morgan keeps everything at her father's place. Documents. Evidence. It's isolated. Gated. Perfect for hiding someone. I looked at Nathaniel. Can you pull up the address? He grabbed his laptop and started typing. Got it. 20 miles north. Old money neighborhood. Big properties. Lots of privacy. That's where we're going. We drove in silence. The sun was climbing higher now. It was almost noon. Every minute that passed felt like Paige was slipping further away. When we reached the estate, I parked a quarter-mile down the road. The property was massive. Stone walls. Iron gates. Security cameras mounted on every corner. We're not getting in through the front, Nathaniel said. Then we go around back. We moved through the woods that bordered the property. Quiet. Careful. My SEAL training kicking in again. Eliza stayed close behind me. Her breathing steady. Focused. We reached the back wall. 8 feet high. I boosted Eliza over first. Then Nathaniel. Then I pulled myself up. The estate grounds were pristine. Manicured lawns. Stone pathways. A massive house sitting in the center like a fortress. Stay low, I whispered. We crept toward the house. I could see movement inside through the windows. Shadows passing by. Voices. But I couldn't make out who. Nathaniel tapped my shoulder and pointed to a side door. Service entrance. Probably unlocked. We moved to it. I tried the handle. It turned. We slipped inside. The house was silent now. Cold. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. We moved down a hallway. Past a kitchen. Past a library. Every door we passed felt like a trap waiting to spring. Then we heard it. A voice. Muffled. Coming from below. Basement, Eliza whispered. We found the door at the end of the hallway. I opened it slowly. A staircase led down into darkness. I pulled out my Glock and descended. The basement was massive. Stone walls. Low ceilings. It smelled like mold and old wood. And in the far corner, tied to a chair, was Paige. Her face was bruised. Her lips split. But she was alive. Paige, Eliza whispered, rushing to her. Paige looked up. Her eyes filled with tears. You came. I cut the ropes around her wrists. Can you walk? She nodded. I think so. Good. We're getting you out of here. Touching. The voice came from behind us. I spun around, raising my gun. Morgan stood at the bottom of the stairs. Calm. Collected. A gun in her hand pointed right at me. I knew you'd come, she said. You're predictable, Tristan. Always playing the hero. Let us leave, Morgan. This is over. She laughed. Over? It's just getting started. You think turning Blake against me changes anything? You think giving the cops some files makes you untouchable? You're going to prison. It's done. No. What's done is you interfering in my life. You and your self-righteous wife. She should have stayed out of my business. Eliza stood up. Your business was destroying people. We stopped you. You didn't stop anything. You just made me angry. Morgan raised her gun. I saw her finger move toward the trigger. I didn't think. I just moved. I fired first. The shot echoed through the basement like thunder. Morgan dropped. Her gun clattered to the floor. She grabbed her shoulder, blood seeping through her fingers. You shot me. She gasped. You tried to kill my wife. You kidnapped Paige. You buried Eliza alive. What did you think was going to happen? She looked up at me, hatred burning in her eyes. You're going to regret this. I don't think so. Sirens wailed in the distance. Detective Quinn and her team must have tracked us here. Within minutes, the basement flooded with cops. They cuffed Morgan, read her rights, hauled her up the stairs. Quinn approached me. You shot her. Self-defense. She aimed first. Quinn looked at Eliza, at Paige, then back at me. I believe you. Paramedics took Paige to an ambulance. She squeezed Eliza's hand before they loaded her in. Thank you, she whispered. Eliza smiled. You're safe now. We stood outside the estate, watching as Morgan was driven away in a police car. Her face pressed against the window, staring at us, promising revenge even now. But for the first time in days, I felt like we could breathe. It's really over, isn't it? Eliza said. I put my arm around her. Almost. Because deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Morgan had been too calm, too confident, like she knew something we didn't. And that scared me more than anything. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and stale coffee. Paige was resting in the bed, her wrist in a cast, her face still bruised but healing. Detective Quinn sat in the corner, taking notes. Eliza and I stood by the window. She's been through hell, Eliza whispered. But she's strong. She's a survivor, I said. Just like you. Quinn closed her notebook and stood. Paige's testimony is going to be critical. With what she witnessed and what Blake's already given us, we have a solid case against Morgan. But there's something else. I turned to face her. What? Morgan's lawyer filed a motion this morning. She's claiming self-defense. Says you broke into her father's estate, threatened her, and she was protecting herself. That's a lie. I know. But her legal team is good. They're going to twist every detail, make you look like the aggressor. Eliza stepped forward. Then we need more. We need something that proves Morgan planned all of this from the beginning. Quinn nodded. That's why I'm here. We executed a search warrant on Morgan's house this morning. Found a safe hidden behind a bookshelf. Inside were documents, letters, and a laptop. What was on it? Emails between Morgan and Victor going back 6 months. She hired him to intimidate Blake's business partners, to threaten anyone who got in her way. And there's more. She pulled out her phone and showed us a photo. An email dated 3 weeks ago. From Morgan Harrison to Victor Kane. Subject: the lawyer problem. Eliza Cole needs to disappear. Permanently. Make it look like an accident. I'll pay double your usual rate. No witnesses. No mistakes. My hands clenched into fists. She ordered the hit in writing. She thought she was untouchable, Quinn said. Thought no one would ever find this. But now we have it. And it's admissible in court. Eliza grabbed my arm. Tristan, this is it. This is what we needed. There's more, Quinn continued. Victor kept records of every job he did for Morgan. Photos, receipts, audio recordings. He was protecting himself, building insurance in case Morgan ever turned on him. Where are these records? On a cloud drive. We're pulling everything now. But here's the thing. Morgan wasn't working alone. The emails mentioned someone else. Someone Victor referred to as the partner. Who? We don't know yet. The name's never mentioned directly. But Victor met with this person multiple times. There are photos of them together. We're working on identifying them now. A chill ran down my spine. Morgan has an accomplice. Looks that way. And whoever it is, they're just as guilty as she is. Quinn left to coordinate with her team. Eliza and I stayed with Paige. She woke up about an hour later, groggy but alert. How are you feeling? Eliza asked. Like I got hit by a truck, Paige said with a weak smile. But I'm alive. Thanks to you. You're safe now. Morgan can't hurt you anymore. Paige's expression darkened. She's not the only one I was afraid of. I leaned forward. What do you mean? There was someone else. Someone Morgan talked to on the phone all the time. She never said their name, but I could tell they were important. She took orders from them. Orders? I thought Morgan was in charge. So did I? But one night, about a month ago, I was working late at the office. Morgan came in. She was on the phone. She was angry, scared even. She kept saying, I'll handle it. Just give me more time. When she hung up, she saw me, asked what I heard. I lied and said nothing, but I could see it in her eyes. She was terrified of whoever was on that call. Eliza exchanged a glance with me. Do you remember anything else? A voice? A name? Paige shook her head. No, but there was something. After she hung up, she looked at a photo on her desk. It was of her and someone else. A man. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. Describe him. Older. Maybe late 50s. Gray hair. Sharp suit. He had this presence, like someone used to being in control. I felt my stomach drop. Did Morgan ever mention her family? Her father passed away 2 years ago, but she has a brother. He works for the DEA. She talked about him sometimes. Said he was the only person she trusted. Eliza's face went pale. Her brother. I pulled out my phone and searched Morgan's family. Found a photo. Showed it to Paige. Is this him? She stared at the screen, then nodded. Yes, that's him. That's the man in the photo. His name was Kyle Harrison, 47 years old. Special agent with the DEA. Decorated, respected, connected, and apparently helping his sister bury people alive. We need to tell Quinn, Eliza said. Not yet. If Kyle's involved, he'll know the second we start digging. He'll cover his tracks, destroy evidence, maybe even disappear. Then what do? We set a trap. We make him think he's safe, and then we take him down. 2 days later, Morgan was arraigned in court. Her lawyer argued for bail. The judge denied it. She was remanded to custody pending trial. As they let her out in handcuffs, she looked directly at me and smiled. It wasn't a defeated smile. It was confident, like she knew something we didn't. That night, I got a call. Unknown number. Hello. Mr. Cole. My name is Kyle Harrison. I believe you know my sister. I put the call on speaker. Eliza moved closer. What do you want, Kyle? I want to offer you a deal. Drop the charges against Morgan. Convince the DA to let her walk. And I'll make sure you and your wife live long, peaceful lives. And if I don't, then I'll make sure you don't live at all. You're threatening a federal witness. That's a felony. He laughed. I'm a federal agent. Who do you think they'll believe? They'll believe the recordings, the emails, the evidence your sister left behind. There was a pause. Then his voice turned cold. You're making a mistake. No, you made the mistake. You thought you were untouchable, but you're not. And when we're done, you'll be in a cell right next to your sister. He hung up. Eliza looked at me. He's going to come after us. Let him. We'll be ready. But deep down, I knew this was far from over. Kyle Harrison wasn't just dangerous. He was connected, powerful, and he had resources we couldn't even imagine. We'd taken down Morgan. But Kyle? He was a different kind of monster. And he was just getting started. We knew Kyle was out there, watching our every move, backed by the power of his DEA badge and connections. Eliza and I didn't sleep that night. Quinn's team put eyes on our house while we worked on building our trap. Nathaniel spent hours digging through Victor's cloud drive with forensic software. Every time he found a new audio clip or bank record, Quinn's team cataloged it and added it to the case file. The evidence was growing, but so was the danger. When morning came, Eliza sat at the kitchen table, reading emails confirmed by the feds. Morgan's trial is next week. The DA wants me to testify. Are you ready? I asked. She nodded, but her eyes betrayed her nerves. If I don't do it, she wins. If I do, Kyle's going to come for us. I can feel it. Paige texted from her new safe house. Blake called me. He's scared. Says he thinks Morgan got a message to her brother. He wants to meet with us, but only in public. We set up a meeting in a busy coffee shop where the risk of anything going sideways was lower. Blake arrived, pale and sweating. Morgan left orders, he said, voice shaky. She told Kyle exactly where the files and money trails ended. She thinks that if she can sabotage the DA's case, she'll walk free. Nathaniel leaned in. If we can show that Morgan and Kyle coordinated, we can open a federal conspiracy case. The DEA is already under investigation for agent misconduct, especially related to corruption and evidence tampering. If Quinn's team brings the case with this evidence, there's a real chance Kyle will lose his badge and face serious time inside. Blake slid something across the table, a set of handwritten notes Morgan gave him after her arrest. She was working with someone inside the courthouse, court records clerk named Quentin. He altered several files last month, pays in cash and wire transfers. She documented everything, in case Kyle ever betrayed her. Nathaniel smiled in disbelief. She kept a blackmail file on the very people covering for her. That's going to destroy their defense in court. Paige reached out, her voice barely above a whisper. My phone keeps getting strange calls. Numbers I don't recognize, voices that don't answer. Do you think Kyle's tracking me? I nodded. He's desperate. If we don't move fast, he'll cover his tracks and silence witnesses. Blake's hand shook as he handed over Morgan's ledger. She never thought it would get this far. She thought she was untouchable. We left the coffee shop with Blake and Paige under police guard. Quinn had the DA authorize round-the-clock protection. Eliza drew me aside, her voice tight. We have all the pieces. But if Kyle finds out we're closing in, he'll run. Or worse. I know, I said. That's why we take this straight to the feds. Quinn has a contact, DEA Internal Affairs. They want Kyle on tape. They want him exposed in real time. Nathaniel set up a secure call. The plan: bait Kyle into meeting, pretending to negotiate. I'd wear a wire, hand him a fabricated deal to drop Morgan's charges if he left us alone. Kyle arrived at a neutral downtown hotel, alone except for 2 bodyguards. Eyes cold, step measured. He didn't smile. Hand me everything. The files, the ledger. Say you'll go silent, or I end you here. I kept my voice even. The offer is simple. I give you the evidence, you disappear. You and Morgan walk, and Eliza and I get our lives back. Kyle scoffed. You really think you have a choice? When this meeting's over, you won't exist. Suddenly, Quinn and Internal Affairs burst in, guns raised, cameras rolling. Kyle's bodyguards froze. Kyle went pale. He was arrested on the spot. The entire exchange recorded for federal court. Eliza squeezed my hand as Kyle was led away, handcuffed and utterly defeated. But as the elevator doors closed, he locked eyes with me. This isn't justice. This is family. My sister's still alive, and so am I. That threat lingered, even as the evidence stacked up. Back home, Eliza collapsed into my arms, trembling but resolute. We did it, she whispered. We're safe. For now, at least. The courtroom was packed. Media, families, curious onlookers. Everyone wanted to see Morgan Harrison's trial. The socialite who buried a lawyer alive. The woman who thought she was untouchable. Eliza sat beside me in the gallery, her hands folded in her lap, calm on the outside, but I could feel the tension radiating from her. This was the moment everything came together, or fell apart. Morgan was led in wearing an expensive navy suit, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless. She looked like she was heading to a charity gala, not a murder trial. Her lawyer, a sharp-faced man named Dominic Reed, whispered something to her. She nodded and smiled. That smile made my blood boil. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The trial began. The prosecutor was a woman named Harper Sinclair, mid-40s. No nonsense. She'd built her career on taking down white-collar criminals who thought they were above the law. She opened strong. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about power, about privilege, about a woman who believed she could destroy lives without consequence. Morgan Harrison orchestrated the kidnapping and attempted murder of Eliza Cole. She hired a known criminal, Victor Kane, to bury Mrs. Cole alive. And when that failed, she tried to silence witnesses. We will prove, beyond any doubt, that Morgan Harrison is guilty. Dominic stood for the defense, his voice smooth, practiced. What you will hear in this trial is a story of desperation. My client, Morgan Harrison, is not a monster. She is a victim of circumstance, a victim of manipulation. Victor Kane was a rogue employee who acted without her knowledge, and the so-called evidence against her, fabricated by people with an agenda. By the end of this trial, you will see the truth. Morgan Harrison is innocent. The first day was testimony from forensic experts, phone records, financial transactions, evidence that tied Morgan to Victor. It was damning, but Dominic kept objecting, kept twisting every detail. On day 2, Paige took the stand. She was nervous, her voice shaking at first, but Harper guided her through it. Miss Paige, can you tell the court what you witnessed at the office? Paige nodded. I heard Morgan on the phone. She was talking to Victor. She told him to take care of the lawyer problem. She said she'd pay him double. She said no witnesses. Dominic stood. Objection. Hearsay. The judge looked at Paige. Did you hear this conversation directly? Yes, Your Honor. I was in the office. Morgan didn't know I was there. Overruled. Continue. Paige went on. Described everything. The threats. The fear. The way Morgan controlled everyone around her. When Dominic cross-examined her, he was brutal. Isn't it true, Miss Paige, that you were fired from your position? No. I quit. After stealing confidential files from your employer? I didn't steal them. I protected them. Because Blake was committing fraud. So you admit to taking documents that didn't belong to you. I took evidence of a crime. Dominic smiled. A crime you claim my client committed. Convenient. Paige's face flushed, but she held her ground. I'm telling the truth. When she stepped down, Eliza squeezed my hand. She did great. She did. But Dominic's good. He's planting doubt. Day 3 was the turning point. The prosecution called their key witness, Blake Harrison. The courtroom went silent. Morgan's face drained of color. She leaned over to Dominic and hissed something. He shook his head. Blake walked to the stand. He looked like a broken man. Suit wrinkled. Eyes hollow. He refused to look at Morgan. Harper approached. Mr. Harrison, please state your relationship to the defendant. She's my wife. And you were involved in the events surrounding Eliza Cole's kidnapping? Blake hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Can you describe your involvement? Blake's voice was quiet. Morgan came to me about a month before it happened. She told me Eliza had files, financial records that could destroy us. She said we needed to scare her, make her go away. I thought she meant legally, threaten a lawsuit, something like that. But that's not what happened. No. Morgan hired Victor. She told him to kidnap Eliza, to bury her, to make it look like an accident. The courtroom erupted. People gasping, whispering. The judge banged his gavel. Order. Harper continued. Did you try to stop her? I didn't know until it was too late. When I found out, I confronted her. She told me if I said anything, she'd make sure I went down too. She had leverage. Emails. Recordings. She'd been planning this for months. Why are you testifying today? Blake finally looked at Morgan. His eyes filled with something between regret and rage. Because I'm done protecting her. I'm done being her puppet. What she did to Eliza, no one deserves that. I'm here to tell the truth. Dominic stood for cross-examination. His face was tight, angry. Mr. Harrison, isn't it true that you struck a deal with the prosecution? Reduced charges in exchange for your testimony? Yes. So you're here to save yourself? I'm here because it's the right thing to do. You expect this jury to believe you? A man who admits to fraud? Who admits to covering up crimes? Blake's jaw tightened. I'm not asking them to like me. I'm asking them to listen. Morgan is dangerous. She destroys people. And she'll keep doing it unless someone stops her. Dominic tried to shake him, tried to poke holes in his story. But Blake didn't waver. Every answer was direct, honest, devastating. When he stepped down, Morgan was trembling. Not from fear, from fury. The next witness was Detective Quinn. She presented the emails, the bank records, the recordings from Victor's cloud drive. Every piece of evidence painted the same picture. Morgan was guilty. Then Harper played the recording, the one from Kyle's meeting at the hotel. His voice clear as day. When this meeting's over, you won't exist. The jury's faces went pale. This wasn't just about Morgan anymore. This was a conspiracy. On day 5, the prosecution rested. Dominic called Morgan to the stand. She took the oath, sat down, looked at the jury with tears in her eyes. I didn't do this, she said, voice breaking. I love my life. I had everything. Why would I throw it all away? Harper stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Harrison, do you recognize this email? She pulled up the message on a screen. The one Morgan sent to Victor. Eliza Cole needs to disappear. Permanently. Morgan stared at it. I was angry. I didn't mean it. You didn't mean to hire a hitman to bury someone alive. I never hired anyone. Victor acted on his own. Then why did you pay him $30,000 the day after Eliza was kidnapped? Morgan's face crumbled. It wasn't for that. It was for security work. Security work that involved burying a woman in a box. No. Harper leaned in. Mrs. Harrison, how many times did you communicate with Victor in the weeks before the kidnapping? I don't remember. Phone records show 47 calls. 47. And you don't remember? Morgan's hands were shaking. I don't know. You don't know? Or you don't want to admit it? Dominic objected. The judge sustained it. But the damage was done. When Morgan stepped down, she looked defeated. Closing arguments came next. Harper was powerful, emotional. She laid out every piece of evidence, every lie, every victim. Morgan Harrison thought she could get away with murder. She thought her money and her connections made her invincible. But justice doesn't care about your bank account. Justice is for everyone. And today, we ask you to deliver it. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the courtroom was silent. Has the jury reached a verdict? The foreman stood. We have, Your Honor. On the charge of attempted murder, how do you find? Guilty, Morgan gasped. Dominic put a hand on her shoulder. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder? Guilty. On the charge of kidnapping? Guilty. Morgan collapsed in her chair, sobbing. Broken. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks. As they led Morgan away in handcuffs, she looked at me one last time. No more smiles. No more confidence. Just defeat. Eliza leaned into me. It's over. I held her close. Almost. Because Kyle was still out there. And his trial was just beginning. Kyle Harrison's trial began 3 weeks after Morgan's conviction. The federal courthouse was under heavy security. DEA agents. Federal marshals. The media circus was even bigger this time. A decorated federal agent accused of conspiracy to commit murder. Eliza and I sat in the same seats we'd occupied during Morgan's trial. Paige was there too, still nervous but stronger now. Blake had been sentenced to 5 years for fraud and obstruction. He'd serve his time quietly, away from all of this. Kyle sat at the defense table in his suit, clean-cut and composed. He looked every bit the federal hero the media had painted him as for years. But I knew better. Behind that polished exterior was a man who'd threatened to kill us. The prosecution was led by Assistant U.S. Attorney Adrian Cross. Mid-50s. Sharp. Relentless. He'd built his career taking down corrupt officials. Ladies and gentlemen, Adrian began. Kyle Harrison wore a badge. He took an oath to protect and serve. Instead, he used his position to cover up crimes, threaten witnesses, and orchestrate violence. This is not just about one man's corruption. This is about betraying everything that badge represents. Kyle's lawyer, a woman named Ivy Brennan, stood next. My client is a decorated agent with 15 years of exemplary service. The prosecution wants you to believe he's a criminal mastermind. But the truth is simpler. Kyle Harrison made mistakes in judgment while trying to protect his sister. That doesn't make him a murderer. The first week of testimony focused on the evidence. The recordings, the emails, the bank transfers between Morgan and Kyle showing he'd helped her funnel money to Victor. Detective Quinn took the stand and presented the timeline. Kyle Harrison knew about the kidnapping before it happened. Phone records show Morgan called him the night before Eliza Cole was taken. The call lasted 17 minutes. What happened after that call? Adrian asked. Kyle flew from Washington to here the next morning. He met with Morgan at a private location. We have surveillance footage of them together. Hours later, Eliza was kidnapped. The defense tried to argue it was coincidental. Family visiting family. But the evidence was overwhelming. On day 5, the prosecution dropped a bombshell. Adrian called a witness named Felix Ortega, former DEA agent, now in witness protection. Mr. Ortega, how do you know the defendant? We worked together for 3 years. Kyle was my supervisor. And during that time, did you witness any illegal activity? Felix nodded. Kyle was taking bribes from informants. Cash payments in exchange for looking the other way on certain drug shipments. He justified it by saying we needed to focus on bigger targets. But really, he was just lining his pockets. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. I reported it to Internal Affairs 2 years ago, Felix continued. But the investigation was shut down. Someone higher up protected Kyle. I didn't know who until recently. Who protected him? His sister, Morgan Harrison. She used her father's connections, federal judges, senators, to bury the investigation. Kyle's face went pale. Ivy objected repeatedly, but the damage was done. There's more, Adrian said. We recovered Victor Kane's personal files from a storage unit registered under a false name. In those files were detailed records of jobs he performed, not just for Morgan, but for Kyle as well. He displayed photos on the screen. Victor with Kyle, meeting in parking lots, exchanging envelopes. Victor kept these as insurance. He documented 12 separate jobs for Kyle over 4 years. Intimidation, assault, and in one case, the murder of a witness set to testify against one of Kyle's informants. The jury gasped. Eliza grabbed my hand. That witness, Adrian continued, was a man named Grant Lawson. He disappeared 5 years ago. His body was never found. But Victor's notes describe exactly how it happened, where the body was buried, and who ordered it. He turned to face Kyle. You, Agent Harrison. You ordered the death of Grant Lawson to protect your criminal empire. Kyle shot to his feet. That's a lie. The judge ordered him to sit. Ivy tried to calm him, but Kyle was unraveling. Grant Lawson was a criminal. He deserved what he got. Mr. Harrison, sit down, the judge commanded. But Kyle kept going. You think I'm the bad guy? I kept this city safe for 15 years. I did what needed to be done. And yeah, maybe I bent some rules. Maybe I made deals. But I got results. Ivy finally pulled him down. The jury stared in shock. Adrian let the silence hang. Then he continued. Victor's files also reveal something else. Something that changes everything. He pulled up another document. Victor wasn't just a hired gun. He was connected to an organized crime network based in Texas. A network that's been under federal investigation for years. And guess who was supposed to be leading that investigation? He pointed at Kyle. You were the lead agent assigned to take them down. But instead, you partnered with them. You used Victor as your enforcer. And when Victor became a liability, when he failed to kill Eliza Cole, you decided he needed to go too. Eliza whispered, Victor was going to be killed? Adrian nodded. We found text messages between Kyle and an unknown contact. Messages sent the day after Victor buried Eliza. Messages that said, clean up the mess. No loose ends. Who was the contact? The judge asked. We're still working on that, Your Honor. But we believe it's someone inside the DEA. Someone who helped Kyle cover his tracks for years. The courtroom buzzed with speculation. Kyle sat frozen, his world collapsing. The prosecution rested 2 days later. The defense barely put up a fight. Kyle didn't take the stand. Ivy knew he'd destroy himself. Closing arguments were brief. Adrian hammered home the betrayal, the corruption, the lives destroyed. Kyle Harrison didn't just break the law. He weaponized his badge. He turned justice into a tool for murder. And now, you must hold him accountable. The jury deliberated for 3 days. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous on all counts. Guilty. Kyle's sentencing was set for a month later. As they led him away, he looked at me one last time. No threats this time. Just defeat. Outside the courthouse, Eliza exhaled deeply. It's really over now, isn't it? I wanted to say yes. But something still nagged at me. The unknown contact. The person inside the DEA who helped Kyle. That person was still out there. And they knew we'd taken down their network. Almost over, I said quietly. Almost. The morning Kyle Harrison was sentenced, the courthouse felt different. Quieter. Like the world was finally exhaling after holding its breath for too long. Eliza and I sat in the front row. Paige was beside us, her hand resting on Eliza's shoulder. Nathaniel stood in the back, arms crossed, watching silently. We'd all earned the right to see this moment. The judge entered. Kyle was brought in wearing orange prison scrubs, hands cuffed, face expressionless. Gone was the polished federal agent. All that remained was a broken man facing the consequences of his choices. The judge read the charges. Conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, corruption of public office, intimidation of witnesses, and the murder of Grant Lawson. Mr. Harrison, you have been found guilty on all counts. Before I pass sentence, do you have anything to say? Kyle stood slowly. His voice was hoarse. I spent 15 years protecting people. I put my life on the line. I made sacrifices. And yeah, I made mistakes. But I never thought I'd end up here. He looked at us. At Eliza. At me. I'm sorry. For what my sister did. For the fear I caused. I can't take it back. I wish I could. The judge's expression didn't soften. Mr. Harrison, you had every opportunity to do the right thing. Instead, you chose power over justice. You weaponized your badge. You destroyed lives. The court sentences you to 30 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. Kyle's shoulders sagged. They led him away. He didn't look back. Outside, the sun was shining. It felt surreal. Like we'd been living in darkness for so long, we'd forgotten what light looked like. Detective Quinn approached us. It's done. Morgan's serving life. Kyle's going away for decades. The DEA is cleaning house. 3 more agents have been arrested in connection to Kyle's network. You did good work. We just wanted our lives back, Eliza said quietly. Quinn nodded. You got them. Now go live them. We didn't go home right away. Instead, we drove to the coast, found a quiet beach, sat in the sand, and watched the waves. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, Eliza broke the silence. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't taken those files? Every day, I said. But you did take them. Because you're brave. Because you fight for what's right. That's who you are. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I don't feel brave. I feel tired. Then rest. We've earned it. We stayed there until sunset, watching the sky turn orange and pink and purple, feeling the weight of everything we'd been through slowly lift. Paige called us a week later. She'd found a new job at a nonprofit legal aid clinic. I'm helping people who can't afford lawyers, she said, her voice brighter than I'd heard in months. It feels good. Like I'm doing something that matters. You are, Eliza said. I'm proud of you. I learned from the best. Paige was healing, moving forward. We all were. Blake wrote Eliza a letter from prison. It was short, simple. I'm sorry for everything. You deserve better. I hope one day you can forgive me. Blake, Eliza read it twice, then folded it and put it away. I don't know if I can forgive him, but I can let it go. That was enough. 3 weeks after Kyle's sentencing, Eliza sat me down at the kitchen table. She had that look in her eyes, the one she gets when she's made a decision. I want to start a foundation, she said, for victims of violence. People who've been kidnapped, threatened, buried alive like I was. I want to give them support, legal help, therapy, a voice. That's a big project. I know, but I can't just move on and pretend it didn't happen. I need to turn this into something good, something that helps people. I smiled. Then let's do it. She named it the Eliza Cole Foundation for Victim Advocacy. Within months, it was operational. Lawyers, counselors, resources for survivors. It became her life's work, her purpose, and watching her fight for others the way she'd fought for herself, that was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. As for me, I left the security consulting business, walked away from contracts, from the life I'd built after the SEALs. Because I realized something during those dark weeks. I didn't want to spend my life looking over my shoulder. I wanted to be present. With Eliza, with the people I loved. I became a volunteer instructor at a local youth center, teaching kids self-defense, discipline, confidence, helping them believe they could overcome anything. One day, a kid named Oliver asked me, "Were you ever scared?" Like really scared. I thought about Eliza's voice on the phone. Gasping for air, trapped underground. Yeah, I said. I was terrified. What did you do? I didn't give up. I fought. And I asked for help when I needed it. He nodded, taking it in. That's brave. No, I said. That's human. On a crisp autumn evening, Eliza and I stood on our porch, watching the leaves fall. The air smelled like wood smoke and cinnamon. Everything felt peaceful, whole. Do you think it's really over? She asked. The same question she'd asked so many times before. This time, I didn't hesitate. Yeah, it is. She smiled. Good. Because I want to talk about something. What? A family. Kids. The future we kept putting off. My heart swelled. You sure? I'm sure. We survived hell, Tristan. We deserve heaven now. I pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Then let's build it. Together. That night, as we lay in bed, Eliza whispered, "Thank you. For never giving up on me. For finding me. For loving me through all of this." Always, I said. No matter what. She fell asleep in my arms. Safe. Free. Alive. And as I listened to her breathe, I realized something. Betrayal had tried to bury us. Literally. But it didn't win. We did. Because we chose each other. We chose truth. We chose justice. And in the end, that was the greatest revenge of all. So tell me, what would you have done in Tristan's place? How far would you go to save the person you love? Drop your answer in the comments below, and don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. Your city, your country. We love hearing from you. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, give it a like, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another heart-pounding tale. Your support means the world to us and keeps these stories coming. We'll see you in the next epic thriller and revenge story. Until then, stay safe, stay strong, and take care of each other.